Hey everyone, it's Maury Curtis Dunbar here with Painted Studio. I hit the start button before I had me lined up in the camera, so forgive me while I play with this for a second to get this lined up. Yeah, I didn't mean to hit start just quite that yet. There we go. Sorry about that. Gosh almighty. I have just been playing with this camera today, trying to get it lined up, moving it around on the table so you all can see better. And of course, that means I'm dropping things everywhere, and I just flip the camera around. You know, I move something and it gets a little complicated. All right, there I am. There's my face. There's my hair sticking up. Here, let's make it really stick up so you can really see it's me there. This makes it perfect. I'm now not Maury, I'm Alfalfa. Okay, so Alfalfa is gonna go work on some new stuff today. I am sorry I missed you all yesterday. If you saw the posts, I was interviewed and on the news, and then my nephew was visiting, so he was getting his tattoo touched up. I was getting mine touched up. So I wasn't really around for Transformation Tuesday by the end of the day yesterday. Today, we're going to do Transformation Tuesday and Work It Out Wednesday back-to-back lives. So the first one we're doing is Transformation Tuesday. Now, last Tuesday, we transformed plain stainless steel Yetis into these wonderful marbled finishes. And we had some issues with this. So we're going to redo another set today. Because I have to work, actually we're going to do 4 cups today, so you're going to see kind of a whole lot of combinations going on. I might even get up and throw a little glitter into some of the mix to see what happens with that. But we're going to go do these. Now, I don't know if you caught the live after that, but I explained that we had power outages the first night after these were on the turners, and the turners stopped dead. And all the epoxy went like that and dribbled and dried in little tiny peaks. We had terrible heat last week, and we constantly had brownouts happening on our air conditioners, and then finally we blew breakers, so the power went out and that stopped the turners. We seem to have that finally under control here, so we haven't had any breakers blowing today. Of course, now that I say that, it'll probably blow while I'm on the live, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. I've tried to turn off everything. I got one more thing to turn off. Turn it off. Okay, turning that off. And we have our air conditioner set to a low temperature, so that won't be such a heavy power draw. It's amazing what you have to figure out before you start doing this. And by the way, that's one of my air conditioners back there. So that's why you don't see it in the winter. This is a portable air conditioner. We have one unit in the back when we first moved in. Didn't touch cooling this place down. So we have the portable one, but that means it's right behind me and it's on, you know, a normal breaker like everything else. And every once in a while, it wants to go pop. So now that we've discussed my electrical problems, we're going to try this again, and we're going to do it with different colors. If you remember, last week we did these over white, which was really sharp and dramatic for light colors. It looks gorgeous. But today we're going to try it over black, and we're going to try it over metallic blue. These are both primed with set coat. This is black set coat on here. This is metallic navy set coat on here. A reminder of how we prepped. We took the stainless steel cups, sanded them down, just a light sanding to break the surface tension, cleaned them really well with denatured alcohol, because when these things are manufactured, they usually put some sort of lubricant on them to help with the tooling. So you want to make sure you got anything out of there that might be oily or greasy. We worked on a few other things that had a little bit of coating on. I'll talk about that later. Hey, Maddie, nice to see you here. All right, so we're going to start. My son and my nephew, we're going to work on these, and then we have 2 other small cups. Hang on, I got to reach over them. We've got this one, and we got this one. Now, these were a little different. They had a little bit of a coating on them. This one specifically was painted pink. And if you look closely, you might see that there was lettering under there. I went over that. Listen, Plain is not good enough for me. I gotta go crazy. So, but I happen to pick these up at the Paper Source warehouse sale. We have a warehouse near us. Can you use rubbing alcohol? Yes, you can. The difference between rubbing alcohol and denatured alcohol is the size of the particle. So I personally prefer denatured alcohol for cleaning, but rubbing alcohol works just fine. But make sure it's plain alcohol, either rubbing or denatured. Don't use something like 405 or Simple Green or any of the other cleaners, because those cleaners have a lot of other stuff in them, and that's residue that you don't want left on a surface that you're gonna paint, because that, again, can cause bonding issues. You want this stuff to be clean of everything. All right, we're gonna flip the camera and see if I can aim it. Now, I'm gonna be moving around a lot with this. We've got 4 of these sitting right here in front of me. While it looks like I've got tons of space, if you look here, I have one here, and then I don't know if I can even get the camera back far enough, but there, for where I am here, there are 2 more right here. What did I paint them with? Lisa, I painted them with, and let me grab a jar so you're familiar with the product, just in case. After cleaning and sanding, they were primed with Faux Effects brand paint called Set Coat. We have 2 done in black, 1 done in metallic navy, and this one is covered in metallic red. I choose Set Coat because it's got super high bonding properties, even on challenging surfaces, and so it is a rare failure for me with this product, and that's why I choose it. Now, I got my cup turners like this off of Amazon. I don't sell them. You can buy them on Amazon, and that you can even buy these replacement foam pieces, and I have a box of them because I trash things, which you might see on the next one, because the next one's not quite so nicely done. All right, so we're gonna start right here. I'm gonna see if I can, I've got the cup on the turner, and the turners just turn on and they rotate, but I still have to mix our epoxies. So I'm gonna set that to the side for just a moment. Oh, goody. And I will also point out something I have found out the hard way with some of these turners. They have a little attitude, because I just had the nut fall off of one. So I have to turn this. This is the screw that holds this pin on here, and you don't want that nut coming off. So I'm gonna screw that back on. I don't have the problem with the other one. It's just one of these that seems to like to leave behind a gift every once in a while. So I've got that on, but I need a little screwdriver and a little plier. Hang on a sec. Plier. Now, I happen, everybody says, like, where do you get all these tools? I mean, how did you get them all? I've been acquiring tools over the years. This little toolkit, for example, that I have in my lap, was a gift from my sister many years ago for Christmas one year. And God love her, she knows that I'm always looking not just for full-size tools, but I need small tools for things like this where I have to repair it. So she gave me a toolkit that was all miniature sizes. So I could go in and tighten stuff like this up. And there we go. Just needed a moment to fix things. And I'll throw that over there and I'll clean it up later. I'll stick my rod back in here. Oh, and this is the other thing. Don't let this slide out of the middle. You need it in here. It helps the way this turns. Boy, this one just must have gotten dropped or something, because everything's challenging it today. And of course, I didn't check this before I turned this on live, so that's my fault. And that was a very fancy fix that I did, obviously. I'm used to fixing things. I see how this is a very simple construction, so you can actually build these yourself. All right, so we're on there, that's fixed. I'm gonna set that to the side. We're gonna start mixing epoxy. When you mix epoxy, you need 2 containers. I know some people can do this in one. I don't like the way that works. It doesn't, I don't agree with it. It doesn't, I remember just enough of my high school and college chemistry classes to know that different liquids have different densities. So if you pour one liquid on top of another and you think you're going to get, you know, if you add 2 and 2, you think you should get 4, but if your densities are different, that's not actually how it works. You can get 2 ounces of one thing and 2 ounces of another and end up with 3.5 ounces of something because one liquid's more dense than the other. And all right. So I'm going to be generous in my pour because we're going to be doing so many cups. And we're going to be using a lot of color, and this is going to be a very, very messy pour. So I've poured in, these are 2 pint containers. I just poured half filled one with the hardener for our art resin, and I'm filling in the other side with the resin half of our art resin 2-part epoxy. Now I'm going to pour these out. I'm going to make sure I've got an even pour. That's perfect. I'm really, really good at eyeballing this, and that's one of those few things I can actually say and brag about. And granted, if I had to do this in front of a crowd, that wouldn't be the case, but you need exactly even measures. If you're not good at doing what I just did, and most people are not, so I'm going to tell you, measure it out. You want 1 to 1, exactly even. The reason is, if you put too much hardener in and not enough resin, your epoxy, once you start mixing it, will harden up faster, it will clump, it will set up faster than it should, and it will be brittle. If you add too much resin and not enough hardener, you might never get your epoxy to actually harden correctly. You could have soft spots, or your whole surface could be soft. But either way, whoops, flip that out of my hand. Either way, you want 2 even measures, and then you got to mix. And if you notice, I'm really scraping this to get every last bit out. That's really what you want to do. You don't want to leave any behind because, again, you compromise the way this is going to cure if you don't get as much out as humanly possible. My goal is to never leave more than 1/4 teaspoon behind. I'm usually okay with doing that. All right, so I'm going to set that aside just in case I need to pour more. And then you start mixing. Now, I could have made my life a little easier and mixed into a bigger container, but why would I make my life easier? And you go and you stir. You go all the way to the bottom, you stir and you scrape and you stir and you scrape. You don't worry about bubbles, because later on when we hit this with either a heat gun or a blowtorch, the bubbles rise out and just disappear. They sizzle out like a steak sizzles on a fire. But meanwhile, you got to mix this. Now, if the container says mix for 2 minutes, you mix for 2 minutes. Art resin is no odor. It's food safe once cured, and it dries crystal clear. And I love this. This is a more flexible. We carry 2-part epoxies. We carry one called Art Glass. We carry the other one, which I'm using right now, called Art Resin. Art Resin dries a little more flexible, so if you have a surface that might have some flex into it, I always recommend that one. Quite frankly, I think Art Resin and liquid glass are interchangeable for using cups, although my personal preference is to use something a little lower in the VOCs on anything that's going to be food related, and this has 0 VOC. I believe this is 0 VOC, from what I remember, although my memory, like my waistline, is slowly disappearing. But I love art resin is probably my favorite resin for anything that needs a little flexibility. Does it have a heat limit? Meaning, can you set it on fire by hitting it with a blowtorch? No. Resin like this, it's temperature safe and up to 500 degrees most of the time when it's cured. There are a few that are a little lower. I've never tested this one personally to 500 degrees because I don't consider this hard enough for a countertop epoxy. But I guarantee you you can I put a blowtorch straight into this. It won't set the epoxy on fire. What it's going to do is it'll set the paint and stuff underneath it and burn it. But the resin will be just fine. All right, so I have this all mixed up. I'm going to mix a little more since I stopped mixing to talk. I know I have this mixed well enough when I see bubbles starting to fly, and they are flying. Bubbles don't fly out of the liquid glass. They only fly out of the art resin. Don't ask me why. It's just probably a difference in the way they're made. But if you see these bubbles coming out, don't breathe them. They are epoxy. You don't want to breathe epoxy bubbles and have them implant into your lungs. You'll have epoxied lungs. That's not a good idea. It's just like you don't drink it. Not a good idea. All right, so we're going to pull our first cup up. Oh, no, not yet. I got to pull the other cups out for the mixing. All right, so my nephew's choice is 4 and 5. All right, so we're going to put some colors into these. And we'll start with my nephew's tumbler first because that's the one that's on the floor. And I don't want to leave it on the floor. Okay, and wear gloves. The only way to get this off your hands is either rubbing alcohol or denatured alcohol. And trust me, we are using enough hand sanitizer. You don't really want to wipe more alcohol on you if you can avoid doing that. Be nice to your skin, so wear gloves. Lisa, I'm glad I got the answer right. Hey, Lynette, nice to see you. All right, so I have these 5 cups poured out. Let's see if I can keep them all so that you can see them on the screen because we're at a little bit of a rough angle here. All right, so he wanted his on black, and he chose his colors of Dragon Gold, this is our art resin epoxy pigments. We have art resin. We have powdered pigments for water-based products, and then we have powdered pigments for epoxies. And these are art pigments for epoxies. This one is Diamond Gold, or Dragon Gold, sorry. And he wanted. My hands are just stiff today. We've had so many storms coming through. My hands don't want to work. They just stiffened up with all the weird weather. Okay, and this is True Silver. And you want to use between 1/4 and 1/8 of a teaspoon of these pigments per ounce. And I probably have about 2 ounces in each cup. Again, I can be a little loosey-goosey with the measurements. That's okay. It will not hurt anything. If I go over 1/8 or over 1/4 or under 1/8, it's not going to hurt the problem. It's just going to change the density of your coloration. Okay, he wanted some red plum. Actually, he just went right for the Amaryllis, but I know what colors he was going for, so I thought I'd just throw in a little red plum for a little extra contrast. That. And I know this doesn't look like anything yet because you haven't seen it mixed up. But I love these. I love these pigments. They're so beautifully metallic. Now this one is a little different. This Amaryllis color is, well, actually it's not saying it's a bling it, but it actually kind of is a bling it color. It's got a lot of mica flakes in there, which is very cool. And all of these colors that I'm showing you are available on the Painted Studio website, www.paintedstudio.com. Yes, I know, we all know the W's are there, but it helps when I share, if I make sure I put it on, because inevitably one person says, is the beginning www? Yes, it is. So I'm not even going to make it hard on people. I'm going to make it easy. All right, and we're going to add some black. Now this is not something we carry. I just bought this off of Amazon when I ordered my cup turners, because I knew I needed some plain black and some plain white. And I'm going to put a little bit of color in there. The directions on this, believe it or not, this directions say you mix it in with half of one thing, and then you mix it, and then you mix the other half in to get. That's not how this I found. Look, I put it into the pre-mix. Look, it mixed it just fine. We're all good. It doesn't do anything bad. Now we're going to start mixing up these colors. Oh, that Amaryllis is so pretty. Look how gorgeous that color is. Now don't try to use these pigments in water-based product. You will be sorely disappointed. They don't dissolve in water. They are for solvents. You definitely want to use this in epoxy, not in a water-based product. You won't be happy with the results. And oh, the true silver is mixing up so beautifully. It looks like, ooh, I just had a silver bubble fly by, but look how gorgeous that silver is. Oh, it's so pretty. Making sure I go to the bottom of these because I don't want to waste any of the epoxy, and I don't want to pour this on the cup and not know why it's not covering. And here is the dragon gold, which is gorgeous. Again, that gold is so pretty. Look how beautiful that gold is. This is going to make a really stunning looking cup. Now I forgot a chip brush, so give me just a second. We'll go back and grab one. We're back. I got a chip brush. We're ready. Now let me move all of these things out of my way so that I can put the turner up here. And then we're going to be shifting things around constantly for the next so much time, however much time it takes. All right, cup. See if I can back this up just a little bit so I get a little easier view and I don't feel like I'm working in a 3-inch square. There we go. Excellent, there we go. All right, so we're gonna turn the turner on, and I actually want it turning towards me, so I have to flip the switch a couple times and then it turns the other way. Come on. There we go. You have to play with the switch. I don't understand how many times you have to flip it to make it work, but this is what you do. So I'm going to start by taking a little of the black, and you have to be careful because black in epoxy can very easily overwhelm. So I'm really just putting on enough here to add as a deep color in the background, because I really want more of my colors to be a part of this. All right, so I got that. Now I'm going to just take a piece of shop towel and constantly wipe my brush off, and then I'll dip into the other colors. Why? Because all these colors are going to get mixed and blended onto the cup anyway, so I'm not really worrying that I get it on the brush. Look how gorgeous this gold is when it goes on, and obviously I'm just sort of slopping it on here, not paying a whole lot of attention to where it goes. I just want it on the whole thing. Okay, there's the gold. I don't know if any of you all saw last Monday, but this is exactly how we did these cups last week. We take the color, we slap some color on, dribble it on. And if you'll notice, I'm sort of doing it all vertically. And what happens is that over the course of turning and turning and turning for 8-10 hours, you'll see the movement goes horizontally. Even as we're doing this, it'll do that. But so I want to give a lot of vertical movement because it really, really helps with the way this finishes. And I keep these little extra cups because some of these, sometimes this will turn and it'll look great for a while. And then all of a sudden everything becomes all horizontal. So I'll come back as this is drying, I'll take some of this in and I'll do some of this. And that'll give more detail if I think it's spun too much into the horizontal direction. And it just gives some nice movement when it all cures up. Okay, this is, all right, I'm gonna tell you right now, I love this as the black, the gold, and the silver. I would leave it alone, but I know I'm giving my nephew exactly what he wants. He asked for some red in it. But I'm gonna keep the red minimal because I don't want it to overtake. So this is, he actually chose this Amaryllis color. So I think this is gonna dry and be sharp, but I also put a little bit of red plum over here because it's darker and it will provide, and I threw my towel on the floor. It's gonna provide another bit of deep tone contrast in here that I think is gonna be much needed. This is gonna come out so cool. And what I also learned from the other day is that after I play with this, I need to let it spin for a little while because I'll let the epoxy settle into its different pockets. This is not complete. But if I let it spin for a little while and do its own thing, then I can come back and figure out where something else is needed. Just try to come in and find a few of the major holes so I can block them in with product. See, I can already see down in certain areas like the red's wanting to take over really fast, and I want to make sure there's more gold in here. And I will also tell you, a lot of this will end up running off down under here. But this is already so cool. I mean, look how cool this looks already. And this is all being done. I literally just, I'm putting the product on here, and then what happens is gravity and a little bit of very low grade centrifugal force kind of takes this over, and the stuff does what it does. That's the cool thing. Epoxy, you have limited control with it, especially when you're just sort of pouring on stuff like I'm doing. All right, I'm gonna set that to the side because I could sit here and play with it for like an hour, and that's not gonna help me. So I'm gonna switch over, I'm leaving it on. As you can see, it's turning, and now I have my other cup holder. Let me see if I can angle this up because for some reason it's sitting a little differently. And we're going to put this cup on it. I gotta move these pink and black cups out of the way and pull in the colors that my son wants for his. He chose different colors completely. Bless his heart. He wanted something that looked like a vacation. So we're gonna turn this on. Well, actually, no, we're not. We're gonna take out the cups. Here, cup. Set this down to the side again because I have to mix his colors. I'm so anxious to pour everything so quickly that I end up putting the turner up before we're ready. All right, so now I have the other epoxy that I had here. We're gonna pour a bunch of cups of that. all of this out because I'm gonna have to mix a little more to do the other 2 cups, I think, unless I just make it out of all the stuff I've already pre-mixed, which probably would be smarter. It would save me product. All right, so in one of these, we're gonna mix, I have 5 cups in front of me again, and the first one, we're just gonna throw a little bit of the white pigment. It's the same kind of white pigment that I got off of Amazon when I needed a white pigment. So that's all I did. Same as the black. Nothing different there. All right, so we'll stick that in there. And let's see, my son's colors were Seafoam, Seagrass, Belize Blue, and Mermaid. So we're gonna start mixing up some colors for him. Bless him, he wanted a vacation and in a cup. And he wants something that he can take on. We're going to Cape Cod next month. We have a little cottage rented so that we don't have to worry about being around other people. And he wanted a special little cup for his vacation. I said, of course, honey. How do you argue with somebody who is so kind and asks you so politely? Both my boys were great with this yesterday. They came in, they picked their colors. They did some work for me around here. This is Seagrass that I just added. First one was Mermaid. This one is Seafoam. And again, like that Amaryllis color, it's got a little extra mica in it, so look how blingy that is. That's a bigger serving, so I need a little extra stuff in there. And the last color is Belize Blue. We'll mix those up and we'll pour those on another cup. And this one will probably actually take substantially less product to pour because it's a smaller cup and it doesn't have the ridge, it doesn't have the lip. All right, let's stir up our colors. Oh, the Belize Blue, look how beautiful. That's a gorgeous metallic rich blue. That is so pretty. And then we have our Seafoam. Which will make a lovely contrast with that. Again, nice metallics. And all these pigments that I carry, they're metallic. They're not matte, they're not gloss colors. These are full metallics, which I love, just so pretty. I've done countertops with these pigments. My countertops here in the studio I did are gorgeous with them too. Okay, there's our Mermaid color, which again, if you want to see it against the Belize Blue, this is a truer blue. This has a little bit of green in it. And then obviously our Seafoam, and I guess have to stir the white together. All right, we're gonna set all the colors to the side. Maybe we'll move a stick or two out of the way. Maybe I'll scrape some of that epoxy out of my way. Now I will, before we torch all of these at the end of the video, we definitely will put something under here, because what happens, the epoxy spills on here, then it spills under the feet and it glues the feet to the tabletop, so you don't want to do that. All right, so now we've got our cup in. We're going to turn the turner on, and it's already turning towards me, so that makes things easier. All right, so take my brush. I think I need a fresh piece of shop towel. And the reason I use shop towel for this, other than regular paper towels, shop towels are stronger. And when I'm fighting with epoxy on a brush, I want to be able to pull on it hard without having it shred the towel. So that's going to go in front of me, and I think we will start with, let's start with a little Belize Blue. Now this Belize Blue is very close to the actual color of the paint. The navy blue metallic set coat that I used on here. It's very close. All right, so we got a bunch of Belize Blue on. Well, I don't need to take that. There's my towel over there. Wipe that down. And then we're gonna take a little mermaid. Got this color combination. He really did pick a nice color combination. I'm glad he picked some light stuff though, because otherwise this would just be very muddy dark. Okay, so that's done. Again. All right, let's go in with some seafoam. Ooh, that seafoam's nice contrast with it, but it's not very opaque. This is gonna dry really transparent, the seafoam. So you definitely want to add other stuff in here because this will kind of easily get eaten up by the other colors. Okay, so I've got the seafoam. And then let's start putting in a little seagrass. Somebody asked me the other day, does this technique have a name? I said, yes, it's called making a mess. Now I mixed up white for this, but I'm kind of liking this so much without the white, I don't think I'm gonna add it. I'll save the white for another cup. All right, I'm gonna let that sit and let it turn for a while. Look how pretty this is. Oh, I got a notification. I gotta get it out of my way so I can see what you all are saying. So look how beautiful these colors are just as they are turning right now. Now I'm gonna flip this camera over. This is what I was talking about. You're gonna have to come back in from time to time and drivel a little color up in vertical lines because the spinning makes all of these colors go horizontal. So if you want to avoid some of that, you gotta kind of come back in. Would you mind putting the entire list of materials you used from start to finish? Yes, Stephanie, I'm more than happy to do that. Once we're done, I go back into the post and at the top of the video where it's posted, I put the complete materials list for everybody and my website address so that you can find it all. All right, so we're switching out turners and we're bringing in one of the smaller ones that I hate. Yeah, I know. I got these from Michael's and I don't like them. I finally figured out how you can actually make them fit tighter, which is this little nut here. But Jesus, these are not, I like the foam, these taller ones, I like them better. They fit things better. They have a little more height, so I feel that they turn better. I find these awkward, but they'll work for what we need them for because I needed 4 turners today, so here we go. All right, so I'm gonna turn this one on. And this one actually has an adjustable speed. Like I said, got it at Michael's. All right, so this one is black. And remember I had liked how this one looked with the black and silver and gold. I might do this with the black and silver and gold and maybe put a little blue in or a little green. I really like that. I need to go back into my nephew's because I think the red and the black are taking over and you're losing the gold, but I'm going to do this with a lot less black for this one. And I think I'm gonna let the gold and the silver and the other colors kind of take over. And I just realized I didn't need to do the bottom of this because this has got a little rubber stopper. All the other cups are not done on the bottom, but these little short ones have a bottom stopper. But I think I better just embrace the fact that I epoxied that. by accident. Oops. Okay, this is the other thing I don't like about this cup holder wants to tilt. So I might have to go in and adjust this a little bit so it tilts a little less. All right, let's turn it back on. And it still wants to tilt a little. This is so weird. Watch this because I can see which way it's not tilting right. And I get in there and I adjust it and then I get it wrong. And it's part of it is because the cone shape, it makes it a little hard to see. But I didn't have trouble with the other ones. It's just this one. It's just this cup doesn't want it, and it's this cup turner. All right, there we go. And now you see why you need a glove. All right, let me go over here. Here is the gold. And it's kind of like very 1980s black and gold with silver, and very dynasty, very late 80s Versace kind of feel with this coloration on here, which is wonderful to me, makes me smile. Okay, here's a little silver. So I did the Amaryllis on my nephews. Let's see, what color should I put in here a little bit? I could put this color, I could put that seafoam, I could put a little bit of the mermaid, I could put just some of the red plum in here, which I think I might just put some of that little, I don't know. Guys, I'm struggling here. I could put a little of the green in. Green would be really kind of pretty in here. That's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna just dribble a little green in. And don't worry at this point if you have bald spots in your epoxy, because once we start torching this and applying the other extra layers that need to go on, those bald spots will disappear and level out. All right, so I've got that one done. And then we're gonna have to switch one more time. That can go back here. And I have one more. And if you're wondering why I have the paper towel shoved down in here, it helps the cup to grip. Okay, here's my last one. This one is with our, it was a pink cup originally, and it has set coat metallic red on it. I'm not even worrying if I'm getting thumbprints with a little bit of weird colors, because we're gonna make that work for us. So I'm gonna take the Amaryllis, I'm gonna turn that on, so it's turning towards me. I'm gonna wipe my thumbprints and stuff off of here because I have a lot of black epoxy on my gloves. And so we're gonna take our pink Amaryllis. And yes, I know I'm picking up black in there. I'll take some of that out, but a little bit of black in there is gonna look good. That's done. Wipe this off. And let me grab the gold. And these very well could need a second coat. So that's why I worry about some of this stuff even less, because I know I'm likely going to have to come in tomorrow morning and do this exact same thing all over again, because that's what it takes. But you can see this is really quite quick. Okay, now I just need a little bit of something else in there. And I'm just deciding what color. And I really like the way seafoam has popped on a lot of stuff today, so I think we're just going to dribble a little seafoam in here. And again, these are not going to be how they dry. I can't make this stuff stay right where it is right now. It's all going to start shifting and swirling like this. That's fine. That's exactly what it's supposed to do. All right, let me go grab my blowtorch. We'll torch these, and I'll be back. Okay, so I can use a big blowtorch or I can use small ones like this. These are basically creme brulee torches, and they work perfectly. So I have two of them. I have one like this and I have a bigger one. And the first thing you're going to do, light it, and then you're going to let it go over the surface. And if you notice, I'm not torching into the surface, I'm torching across it. What this does is the heat liquefies the epoxy more, it allows it to flow more, and it allows for the bubbles to rise to the surface. And when you run the flame over it like this, if you watch, and it won't show on the camera, but it looks like it's sizzling, because it really is just bringing everything to the surface. But don't stick your torch right into it like this, because if you do, you won't burn the epoxy, but you'll create so much heat going through it that you'll cause the paint underneath to burn. You could scorch the surface underneath if it's not metal. Get the bottoms here. All right, and go. There's this cup, so we're going to torch this one. I'm not sure if you can see the sizzle. This is pretty close. And I have a couple bald spots. I'm not worried about that either. I'll come back and deal with them. Thing is, I know people can get very afraid of epoxy, and it's like once you poured it, you don't think you should touch it. Well, the truth of the matter is, you stick your fingers in it like this. I can create some interesting stuff happening. I'm sticking my fingers in, getting rid of bald spots. It's just gooey. It's not going to hurt it because it's going to continue to self-level. And epoxy levels to approximately 1/8 of an inch thick. So, you know, pouring more on here, all it's going to do is just slide right off. So you don't want to do that. You want to just pour as much as is needed to get the effect that you want, and then hit it with a blowtorch. And I guarantee I probably poured more epoxy on some of this than I have on other things, because I knew all these colors needed to blend. Now, occasionally on the ends or on the sides, you're going to see a really, if you poured a lot, you'll see a heavy buildup, and you'll need to torch it until it becomes more liquid and starts dripping off the end. I have that happen when I do a lot of colors like this, because it wants to, let me pull this back so you can see where I'm talking about. Because of the shape of the cup and because of gravity, epoxy likes to build up down here at the bottom. And I have it happen sometimes that I'll have a blob that cures up more on one side than the other. So later on, once this is dry, I take my Dremel or some sandpaper and I sand it way down. And Dremel's way easier to do it with, trust me. This stuff dries hard. You don't want to be dealing with it with just like a little bit of sandpaper. It's much easier this way. Sorry, there was a bald spot there. I had to cover it. And now that it's super liquid, it will reset where I just stuck my fingers in. And I'll go back in and torture it and it'll level. This is what these do. And occasionally, on the ones that I can do it on, I will turn this off and then have it spin the other direction. Come on, spin the other direction. There we go. Why? Because if something has started to create a wave in one direction, spinning it back the other actually makes it marble up a little bit in a very cool way. So, unfortunately, I don't think I can change the direction on the other smaller ones, which, you know, another reason for me not to love them as much. I'm torching the spots that I can actually see have issues, like there was a bubble that I just missed, or there was a little bald spot that I didn't get filled in. All right, there's one more kind of cool thing to show you if I can find it. So you can see this. I have in here, this says rubbing alcohol and it'll work, but this is actually denatured alcohol in here. Occasionally, and you can do it with rubbing alcohol, but this is kind of cool too. If I take my denatured alcohol, spritz it, it causes a little tiny bit of sissing that crystallizes some of the cool stuff in here and makes it come to the surface. It's the only way I can describe it. But I just love the little extra bit of shimmer, a little spritz on their gives. All right, so we have these last two cups to finish. I'm gonna torch the one behind here. Sorry for my arm, but if I pick up and move again, we're gonna have bad things happening. So I'm just doing the black and the green and gold one behind. You guys are just watching this other one spin at the moment. I apologize for that, but I gotta get the one behind there too. All right, so we're gonna do this one. Again, I am not putting my torch directly into the cup. I'm running it along the epoxied surface. And there's a whole lot of skip spots in here. So this is where I just take my finger and I kind of go in. And why don't I, the reason I don't worry about this is this actually helps create some pattern and some texture because it moves some stuff into places that it might not have been before. So if I got gold on my finger here and I need to touch up a spot there, I've just moved a little gold over there. And get there. All right, let's try that again a little bit. There we go. Now we're getting it to liquefy just the way it needs to. And you have about 45 minutes pot time with this, meaning you have 45 minutes from when it's mixed up to use it and pour it out of your pot. The wider the pot, the longer your open time. If I mix this stuff up in a tall, narrow container, it's gonna set up way faster than if I did it in a low flat one. It's something about the way it's all concentrated, it causes a heat. If you mix big vats of this, you wanna mix them and pour it like immediately. I've actually seen buckets melt if I've mixed mixing too much epoxy and it just did some strange stuff and it melted and it was really, melted the bucket. It was a really big mess actually. All right, let me come back over to this other one. I'm gonna have to wipe my hand off so I can stick my fingers in it. I'm sorry, I know you can't see it because of the way the camera's angled, but I promise you I gotta get this done. All right, get this last little bit torched out. and you leave them on the turners for between 8 and 10 hours. Now at 4 hours, if this was a plain gloss, you could easily come in at 4 hours and put a second coat on it. For this one, we're putting layers of colors over layers of colors. You let it dry its full cure time, because otherwise you're gonna mess up the mixing. It'll just get gummy and streaky and ugly, and you're gonna have hardening epoxy mixing in with fresh epoxy and doing very bad things. You will not like what happens, I promise you. I know, because I've done it. Just liquefying stuff so that things can drip as needed. There we go, got the drip off one end of the cup I was waiting on. I knew it was coming, I just had to get it there. And these will turn all night long. All right, let me take my glove up, flip up this way. Now, obviously, I didn't flip the camera up to read questions when I had the gloves on, because I don't really want to cover my phone and my lenses with epoxy. That's really a bad idea. So I'll play with these a little while back and forth for the rest of the night, and then I'll walk away. And by the time I come back tomorrow, these will have dried hard, and I'll be able to determine just how much, or if I do need a second coat. And I think I could take my alfalfa little peek down on my hair now. And I will obviously, when we do tomorrow's live, I will share what they came out looking like. I think you're gonna like them. I'm actually kind of digging how they're coming out right now. I'm gonna let them turn for a while. I may touch up with a little more color on this layer. I've got a lot of epoxy sitting here that I have to use up. So, you know, that's what I'll be doing. And I will be back probably at, what time is it now? It's 4:45. I might be back in 45 minutes to finish off on another project, and we can do our Work It Out Wednesday. Thank you for being with me for my delayed Transformation Tuesday, and I will catch you all later. Oh, I almost forgot, contest. Yes, that's right, folks, we have a contest. My Friday video, Free Finish Friday from this last Friday, July 17th, I did a finish. So sprinkle the love on that finish. We are close to that. The contest rules required 25 sprinkles. We're at 18. If we don't get to 25, the contest doesn't happen. If we get to 25 sprinkles, and we do check to make sure that you come back and say you've sprinkled, that you've actually done it, you can share it to as many groups as you want, but you got to sprinkle that love. 25 sprinkles, the contest goes off. What do you win at the contest? If we get over 25 sprinkles, the winner will be drawn on Friday, and they will get 10 ounces of texture medium, 10 ounces of metallic plaster, and an orange stamping roller. Any one that you want from what we have in stock. It is not this video, Lisa. It is Friday's Free Finish Friday video. You're gonna have to scroll back. You're gonna have to go back to Friday, look for the video. It will say Free Finish Friday and contest at the top. That's the video that has to be shared. When I looked before we started, we had 18 shares on it. We need to get to 25. Folks, that's only 7 more. You're almost there. Do the sprinkling, and somebody gets to win something. All right, everybody, I will be back here about 5:30. I'm just gonna clean up all of this mess that's right in front of me so we'll have a clean space to do the next live. All right, everybody, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.